So I'm already getting all of my inputs. From this input, I can get the value. So I can say dot value. Okay, yeah, I can say input dot value. Um, yeah, so I can say input dot value, but there will be no way for me to get this value yet because I have not added an event listener. So events in JavaScript refers to mouse clicks or keyboard clicks or button clicks or screen click. So just like events that can happen on any device basically. So here we are going to be listening for an event on my form submission. So I would need to firstly get my form. So I would say query selector form, and I can save that in a constant form. Then I can access, I can add an event listener that would listen for form submission. Then I would pass in the event.
Sir,
Then I would say event dot prevent default. So this is just a convention that you'd see in most event listeners, and this would prevent our form from going back to the default. So we just had this to prevent it going back to the default. So now I can I can get the value for each input element. So I can say input name dot value. So let's say console dot log. Similarly, I can say input email and finally input height. So now what we've done here is we've added an event listener that is listening for the submit event. So this submit event is going to happen when I submit this form, and the form is going to be submitted when I click this button. So that is why I needed to add this type here. So that is why I needed to add this type here. So let's see what happens. So let me refresh this, and then I input um and I input some random variables here. So when I click update, you can see that I am getting the values that I have imputed. So now that I'm getting those values, my work is practically done. So I can use those values to modify my object. So I can use those values to modify my object. So here I can say now that person.name would be equal to input name. And also person.email would be equal to input email, and person.height, so this is a new property entirely, would be equal to input height. So after all that, I can log my person to the console. So let's try that again. So when I click update, let me refresh this, and let's change the person's name to Raheem, email to Raheem.com, and height to this value. So when I click update, you can see, so here it is returning input hashtag email hashtag height hashtag name, and that's because I'm supposed to say input dot value. So dot value and dot value. So when I refresh this and I add those fields and I submit this form, you can see here that my object, so the properties have changed to what I am inputting into this form.
But they still charge me for three. Why is he annoying me?
So that is the
Who
end
they call?
of the task. That's the end of the
You were
task.
too, you were too fast. At some point, I didn't understand again.
Yeah, um,
11:57.
ah,
11:57.
because our time is fast spent, so you can go over the video. Then maybe in the next lesson we'll go over this again. So yeah, you can go over the video because the video would be provided because the video will be provided. So then in next session, which will be next week, we can go over this again. I know I was a bit fast actually, but if you go over the video, you would realize that yeah, you should find it easy from the video, sure. And if you don't, we'll go over it in the next lesson. So in the next session, we would go over this again, and we might create another HTML project. So maybe a simple to-do list or something. So that will be modified using JavaScript. So that would be in the next session though. So for this session, you would get the video, so you can just go over it. Then in the next session, if you guys still have any issues with the script tag or anything we've done so far, we would just go over it again. So yeah, that's no problem. I will see you guys in the next one.
Sorry, hello.
Yeah,
So please, where can we get the video?
the video will be sent to you one
Okay,
way
sir.
or the other. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So have a nice day, guys.